In the quiet Lancashire village of Freckleton, life usually moved at a gentle pace. It was the kind of place where people left their doors unlocked, where neighbors greeted one another in passing, and where children rode their bikes through winding streets until the evening sun dipped below the horizon. Tragedy was something you read about in the newspapers, something that happened in big cities far away, not here, not in their small, close-knit community. But in January of 2012, that sense of safety was shattered. Freckleton, a village that had always prided itself on its peace, became the unwilling stage for one of Britain's most shocking crimes. A crime that would claim the lives of 4 innocent children and plunge the entire community into a darkness it had never known before. And at the center of it all was a name that would become forever infamous in Lancashire: Dyson Allen. A troubled 19-year-old whose actions would earn him the titles of arsonist and child killer, a young man whose choices destroyed lives and scarred a village forever. Dyson Allen's path to infamy began long before that night. His childhood was far from stable. Teachers described him as a boy unable or unwilling to follow the rules. He was quick to anger, disruptive in lessons, and constantly clashed with authority. To his classmates, he was unpredictable, sometimes funny, sometimes frightening. As he entered his teenage years, his behavior worsened. Allen turned to alcohol and drugs, numbing himself while fueling an already volatile personality. Social services became involved, but intervention seemed to slide off him like water off glass. People saw him as a troubled youth, perhaps a lost cause, but not truly dangerous. No one imagined the level of darkness that lurked beneath the surface. By 2012, Allen had drifted into the orbit of the Smith family through his girlfriend. Michelle Smith, a hardworking mother of 6, opened her home not just to her own children, but to their friends as well. Her house was often filled with laughter, noise, and the chaos of everyday family life. She was devoted, loving, and protective. That January evening, Michelle's eldest son, 19-year-old Reese, was home looking after his younger siblings. His sisters, 4-year-old twins Holly and Ella, and his baby brother, 2-year-old Jordan, had gone to bed. Their innocence shielded them from the storm that was about to break. For them, the world was still one of bedtime stories, toys, and a mother's love. They had no idea that danger slept under the same roof. In the early hours of January 7th, 2012, the house was quiet. Street lamps cast pale pools of light on the cold pavement outside, while inside the children slept soundly. It was then that Allen made his move. Investigators would later conclude that he deliberately ignited a fire inside the children's bedroom. Perhaps he thought it would be a prank, a way to shock. Perhaps it was a darker impulse, a need for chaos. What is certain is that within minutes, flames were eating through curtains and bedding, filling the room with smoke. The fire grew quickly, feeding on the oxygen, climbing up walls, consuming everything in its path. For the children inside, there was no chance. Smoke stole their breath before the flames could reach them. In their sleep, they slipped into unconsciousness, never to wake again. Neighbors were jolted from their sleep by the sound of shattering glass and the roar of flames. Some rushed outside, their bare feet slapping against the cold pavement, staring in disbelief at the inferno raging just a few houses down. Shouts filled the air, desperate calls for help, for ladders, for water. Some tried to reach the house, but the flames were already too fierce. The fire was alive, and it would not be stopped. When firefighters arrived, they battled their way through the choking smoke. They risked everything to reach the children's room, but the inferno had already claimed its victims. 4 small bodies, lifeless, were carried from the wreckage. The sight was so devastating that hardened firefighters, men and women used to tragedy, wept openly in the street. For Michelle Smith, the loss was beyond comprehension. 4 of her children, gone in a single night. Her family reduced, her home destroyed, her life broken. The community, too, was left reeling. Vigils sprung up almost instantly. Flowers, soft toys, and handwritten tributes were laid outside the charred ruins. Strangers wept side by side, united in grief. At first, everyone clung to the hope that it had been a tragic accident, a faulty plug, a candle left unattended. Something random, cruel, but not deliberate. Anything but deliberate. But fire investigators quickly found evidence that told a different story. Burn patterns revealed that the fire had been started deliberately. There was no faulty wiring, no accident. This was arson, an act of intent. And suspicion soon fell on Dyson Allen. While others outside the house screamed and collapsed in tears, Allen appeared eerily detached. Witnesses described him as calm, even smug. Some claimed he smirked as the fire raged. When questioned by police, his stories shifted like sand. At times, he denied involvement. At others, he bragged, hinting that he knew more than he was admitting. He seemed to enjoy the attention, to relish the chaos he had caused. What had first appeared to be tragedy was now revealed as atrocity. This wasn't fate. This wasn't chance. This was murder. In 2013, Allen stood trial at Preston Crown Court. The details laid bare were enough to chill even seasoned observers. Prosecutors described a young man who deliberately lit a fire, fully aware that children lay sleeping only feet away. Fire experts testified that the blaze could not have started accidentally. Witnesses spoke of Allen's disturbing behavior in the aftermath. Police revealed his shifting, sinister statements. And throughout it all, Allen sat in the dock with barely a flicker of remorse. He smirked, rolled his eyes, and treated the trial like theater. For the grieving family in the gallery, his contempt was almost too much to bear. After weeks of evidence, the jury returned their verdict, guilty of 4 counts of murder. The judge did not mince his words. He called Allen's actions wicked beyond belief as he handed down a life sentence with a minimum term of 32 years. Allen would grow old behind bars. But for Michelle Smith, the sentence was a cold comfort. No prison term could undo the loss of Reese, Holly, Ella, and Jordan. No words could heal the gaping wound left in her family's life. The house itself was demolished, its blackened shell too painful to remain. In its place, the community created memorials. Candles are still lit, flowers still laid, names still spoken. The memory of those 4 children endures. The story of Dyson Allen remains one of the darkest in modern British crime. It is chilling not just for the act itself, but because of who committed it, a teenager. Only 19 years old, yet capable of such cruelty. His crime was not an accident, not a reckless mistake of youth. It was deliberate, calculated, carried out with cold disregard for human life, and that is what makes it so haunting. Evil, as this case reminds us, does not always arrive with age or experience. Sometimes it emerges early, sudden, and shocking, leaving devastation in its wake. The village of Freckleton will never forget that January night, nor will it forget the children whose lives were stolen: Reese, Holly, Ella, Jordan. Their names are their legacy, a reminder of innocence lost and of the unimaginable cruelty of one young man.